Awesome, awesome. TFC families, TFC supporters, welcome to our Zoom call tonight. I have a couple of people with me, some teachers, and we're going to talk about some awesome things you can do to help with virtual learning as we move through this new era of technology and this new area of school. So I'm going to let them both introduce themselves. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead. Tell us where you teach, what grade you teach, and maybe something about yourself.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Zach. I'm a teacher at Reagan High School. This year, I'm teaching environmental systems and chemistry, but I can teach any science at the high school level. Something interesting about me, I guess, is in October I celebrated 10 years with my kidney, so I'm a decade with a transplant.
Awesome. Congrats. David?
Oh, it's my turn. Hi, David Trujillo. I'm a kinder teacher here in San Antonio, Texas, product of SAISD, and that's where I currently teach. The school I teach at is Highland Hills Elementary School, and this is my 6th year as a teacher, 3 years in 2nd grade and 3 years in kinder. And so there never seems to be a dull moment. And yes, I know people say it's like herding cats, and a few times you do feel like you're herding cats, but now it's a totally different transition for us to be online, and what a wonderful experience, but to be put head first in, so here we are.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for jumping on tonight. I do have to say this is pretty great because we have a kindergarten teacher and a high school teacher, so we're going to get some pretty wide range of answers here, which is perfect. So what we really want to do is help smooth this transition for everyone. So David, I'm going to ask you, how do you feel is the best way to balance school time versus fun time? Everything that we're doing right now is on our tablets and our phones. So how can parents and kids balance that time well when they're doing everything on their digital device because we can't go outside, we can't go meet with people? So how do you make that balance happen?
That's a good question. I think that's probably one of the first questions they had while they were doing this remote learning and all this stuff was being put online. For us, we've been instructed to, for remote learning, put digital things online, and instructional time should be roughly from 2 to 2.5 hours. For kinders, it's always a little bit different. And what that means is it's not 2 to 2.5 hours of screen time, looking at your screen the whole time. This could be any instructional time, whether it's an activity that was put online to watch a video and then complete an assignment, or to act out the video, to act out a sort of activity or instructional assignment that's given to you. But it's advisable to also maybe do your assignment and then have a break, and space your day out so that way it seems appropriate for you, and no matter what level you are, from kinder to fifth, all the way from middle to high. It's going to be a little grueling at the beginning, I think, for both students and parents, because it's a lot to have a tablet in front of you, and now it's transitioning from, let's say, an activity to a recreational activity or some sort of game to now an educational device. And I think that all our young whippersnappers are into technology, so I think they're gonna just be really fluid when it comes to taking that transition from activities and enjoyment to activities, enjoyment into education. So to sum it all up, just spread your day apart with the activities that are given to you and provided to you through your teacher, and make it engaging. Spend time with your family, because that's the most important thing that we could do right now, being quarantined with each other, as a ordination. But enjoy the time with your family, and balance that between education and family time.
I think that's awesome. Just like you said, having breaks, and then this generation is already so far ahead of, all three of us technology-wise. The transition may be a lot easier for them than it would have been for us even 10 years ago. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right, Zach. So as I was researching kind of some stuff to talk about here, I kept coming across like posts on Facebook from moms and dads asking about routines and schedules. And how do you feel about keeping, bedtimes? And how do you feel about people getting up in the morning and like getting dressed? Do you think that people should get ready for school, so to speak? Or do you think it's okay to go to school in pajamas and just kind of have a more relaxed environment?
Well, so that one is going to be different for every person, but I would probably say for a vast majority of students, getting up and getting ready for school would be better for them just mentally, especially with what you were saying about how students these days are embedded with technology. They're so good at everything on their phones, the computers, they're so good with all of it, but not a lot of them are good with using technology in an online learning platform. It's not really until college is when people really start doing the fully online classes. But it helps just the mind to wake up, brush your teeth, shower, do all that stuff, and just change clothes, change mindset. So it helps you with what you're going to do. And one of the things that I would recommend is don't work where you're going to have fun, right? Because again, there've been studies done a long time ago where it's if you study how you're going to do on the test, you're going to do better on the test, right? So don't so same thing with school. If you have if you play a lot of computer games, maybe don't use that computer or just don't have any of them open. Don't try to do multitasking things because with how we're doing distance learning, grades are really kind of on the back foot right now. We're just trying to continue the general education of these students. So it's very difficult. And the wearing pajamas, I know I have a lot of teacher friends who they are enjoying wearing pajamas all day. I get up, it just for my brain, I need to be wearing some sort of formal uh, business thing. Like I'll still wear a collared shirt even though I don't go outside ever. So but again, it works for different people. But I would recommend setting a routine, following it. I agree with what David said, where it was, putting breaks. You're given online school, put in breaks. I personally have some breaks in my work, right? So since you have the time to do it, put in breaks. Now, if you're the type of person who likes to sleep in for, until 11 o'clock in the morning, then you may not have a lot of time for those breaks because you have to do the work in a tighter area. But again, that just varies by individual.
I think that's a great point. Just being in the routine, whether your routine is to stay in your pajamas or to get ready, it changes your mindset. I know if I get up and I put my contacts in, I know my day started. Same kind of thing. And just from my opinion, I think if parents are getting their kids ready, they should be getting ready too, just so that they can set that example. Zach, you did kind of go into the next question. I'm gonna go ahead and ask David though. What do you feel about working, like you said, where you have fun? Is location within your house matter? Like, if you play football in high school, you're not going to study on the football field. But when you're sitting at your kitchen table, do you think it makes a difference if you sit in the same seat or if you sit in the same room to do your assignments as where you enjoy your family time and that kind of stuff?
I think that's a good question. I like the aspect of that question. I have two sides to that. And I think like Zach said, it depends on the person, it depends on the family, it depends on your learning type. I think it's cool when people take it, parents take it more of a formal direction towards like, okay, we need to sit down all together. We have more than one child who goes to school at the same time, and let's all do our work at the same time. And that may be a very cohesive sort of direction that works for them. And then other times it may be like, okay, well, you can't work together, so I'm going to put you, and you in separate spots. And I mean, as a home, you're kind of limited. So I think I like the aspect as well from being formal, also working in a spot that's comfortable for you. And again, there's a broad range of answers because it could depend on your age and it depends on your learning preference. So like maybe some of the littles, like they feel better sitting in their bed while they're practicing, and they think it's a kind of a turn for their world where they're learning something and they know it's kind of like school online, but they get to be in their own home, And I guess kind of like me when I'm learning, when I'm done my training on Zoom, I have a suit and a tie and I'm sitting in my boxers, No, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. But I've been, I don't keep my pajamas on, but I have a, yeah, I don't, exactly. I don't stand up. No, but I'm kind of comfortable, but you know, I have my composure and I look like decent. But again, like that just goes back to your learning preference and your preference over general. So I think it's good for parents to understand that there's not one way that's the right way to answer that question. Like you do what feels best for you, and you know what's going to help your child um, be put in the best learning environment possible for them as we are right now. So I like that question though. It's a very good question.
That's awesome. Yeah, what I'm really hearing is keep the kids comfortable so that they feel responsible for their learning. Because
Exactly.
if you pin them into a certain point, then they may resist more, like when they're at school, and you want them to feel like they're in a spot where they can be themselves and learn at their own frequency. Wonderful. Zach, I have one more question for you, and this is kind of about the whole social distancing thing.
Okay.
How do you feel about interacting with other students? Do you think, or what impact is it having by students not interacting with each other? Do you think they should be doing, Zoom calls like this? I mean, no one's playing sports right now. Parents aren't seeing each other. What do you suggest in terms of, creating that social aspect so that it doesn't get lost? Because if we go like this all the way into the summer, I feel like these kids are going to lose some of their social skills as we come around to August again.
Yeah, so on that one again, I think definitely my students and probably younger are kind of uniquely suited for this whole global pandemic. They already spend 90% of their day on their phone, right? So that even in class, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, hey, can you maybe not text your friend who's sitting right next to you? Just like pay attention to the lesson. Like they are great at communicating with each other. And that's one of the things a lot of people complain about their social skills. What the thing is, it's their face-to-face social skills that are struggling. They are very social little beings. Like their social skills are really good. It's just not social in the classic way that we were taught that's being social is. I have students who would, play Xbox or PlayStation with their friends for, until 1 a.m. And that's social. It may not be face-to-face sociality, but they're on headsets, they're talking to each other, they're having a good time. And so is it important? Absolutely. Humans are innately social creatures. Even people who are, who like to be alone, they still need people at some point. As to how they do it, again, for most of the students, I would say keep doing what you're doing, right? Unless it's going out of your house, then don't do that, stay inside. But like keep texting your friends. You don't have to do an official Zoom meeting. FaceTime, right? You can FaceTime a friend. Do what you need. Parents, it's going to be a little bit harder because I think a lot of parents right now are actually under more stress than the kids themselves. Because the like my students, I teach some seniors in my environmental class, and they're worried about graduation. We have some parents who are worried about bigger things, right? Or like our population, we have some students who are worried about their health during this time, right? And so for parents to communicate, I mean, I guess phone calls. I know some people don't like talking on the phone, but that's something that always helps. I know I've talked to my dad's in Washington, D.C. right now, and I've talked to him on the phone and like for more than 3 minutes, which was very weird. But so we've had a good time with that. But I mean, the Zoom meeting works. Skype has a thing. I mean, there's a billion different things on the computer and to interact. But no, it is very important. But on an upside to this, it's a shared experience. All my students are going through a kind of a similar thing right now. Some of them may be handling it different than others, but this is going to be a shared experience that they can talk about, so that they'll be able to remake those connections when school starts back up, be it this year or in August.
I honestly love that. That's why I wanted to do this with you two, because you have such different perspective on the interaction of kids, and I'm not in a school every day, and how you're talking about they're already social, they're not social to the way that Zach and I see them, millennials see them, the next generation sees them, because we're used to getting together and playing Nintendo together, not playing on headsets over Xbox Live or whatever it may be. So I have one more question for both of you. It's not really a question. This is just kind of like a free-for-all, so to speak. I would like either one of you to think about something that maybe we didn't bring up, some tip or some, just whatever you think might be vitally important to someone's success, to a parent's success, as we move through this time, because I know there's stuff I missed, and I think that you guys have some insight that I couldn't even find on the internet.
I have two things. The first one is going to be, please have patience with your teachers during this time. Like me personally, I was told last Wednesday that I had to move my entire class online. I teach 2 different classes, 160 something students. So I had 5 days to get it set up. There are still issues. I know I'm not the only teacher who's having issues. So please just give us some grace. Every teacher I know is trying as best they can during this time, but we were not ready to switch a class online. I'm fine with saying that. I was not personally over spring break thinking like, oh, how can I just do my entire job on a computer? So that's number one. And the second thing goes along with it, communicate with your teachers. Things are going to be weird. Things are going to mess up. Teachers are people too, right? So if you're having a problem, I know a lot of schools are doing the Google Classroom. If you're having a problem on that, shoot your teacher an email. If they do the remind thing on the phone, shoot them a text on remind. But just talk to their teachers. It'll help you. And also, a lot of teachers are very, very lonely. Definitely not from personal experience. But like my job, one of the best things I loved about it, because like teaching as a whole, there's a lot of nonsense that I don't like. But my favorite part is being in the classroom with my kids. And I don't have that. I have a bunch of little names on a computer screen. And it's like, oh, look, they turned something in. Yay. And so just communicate. That communication is key in this time.
That's great. David, what do you have? What do you think? Any final words?
Yeah, they're pretty parallel from what I was thinking too. Communication is key in this sense. You don't feel like you're not doing something right or you did something wrong. That's why we're here to help. And there is multiple formats to reach us, whether you have the teacher's phone number or they reach you through Remind, or it is in the transition to Google Classroom. It's a key proponent to what we're going through right now. So yes, definitely don't be afraid to ask those questions. And I think, just have a great time learning together with your student, because this is a brand new experience for all of us. It's really weird, but it's also kind of interesting at the same time, because we're in this together, but we've never done this before. It's completely new. And so just have a good time with it. Like, with the breaks, the time you spend with the family. And I know we're teachers are rocking it right now. And yeah, patience is key.
That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for all the great tips and thank you for your time. I know you're busy setting everything up like Zach just said. For anyone out there that's listening to this, if you have any follow-up questions or you have anything that you didn't hear tonight that you'd like to hear, just message us on the Transplants for Children Facebook page, and one of us will get back to you just as quick as we can. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home tonight. Good night.